think so.
This back row with the downflows went on.
Yeah. So maybe that's why it seemed darker.
Yeah. You need any more up front? Or
Mm-mm. No, that kind of highlights makes it easier to see the screen,
Okay.
I think.
This one was down, see how much, it's funny how much dimmer it is.
It really does. Miss Robin, how are you?
Great, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Got to make sure the AV switched over. Yep. One man show. You got to make sure the stool's in the view, and then you got to make sure nobody else back there. It either is or it isn't. So. Yeah. 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 Last night with Trunk or Treat, we did mental health matters is what we did. We had a little positive signs stuff. Camille had the characters from Inside Out, the cartoon, and we had shoe shirts. She had ennui, and I had anxiety. And Matt goes, anxiety. He says, yeah, you got to wear that to church. He says, I don't see that any of this stuff phases you. He says, we just pick through. I said, that's what I do for fun, is I pick through chaos. So like this, if yeah. That's a unique thing when you're first there. They said the criminals can pick the tourists because their heads are up. It's like, yeah, there's your necklace, thanks. But it is a weird place, though. The one time I was downtown, we had to park at the Port Authority. We had a thing that, for GM. And we had time. We walked 5 blocks square. A few of us just walked that. But what I remember was it seemed like every corner was a dump, and the sirens that echoed off of everything. There was always sirens going in New York City. So. Morning, Paul. He survived Trunk or Treat. The guy slipped out. I was like, all of a sudden our neighbors were gone.
Yeah. One thing that still bugs me is standing for a very long time.
Yeah. We offered you chairs.
I know you did.
Matter of fact, I could give away all our chairs and still sat on the tailgate of the truck.
I appreciate the offer.
Camille's knees, she wouldn't understand like that. That ain't gonna work. So. Oh.
Yeah. Get in the car this morning, I'm driving down here, this little son of a, boom, I got it.
Oh, did you? I know I leave.
Flew over into the corner and I just,
I leave the house in the morning, the windows are down, the mosquitoes all out, and with speed should suck them out some way or another, because I always have mosquitoes in the truck living in the swamp.
we don't have a real problem with
We haven't had a real problem, but it's, had some rain a couple weeks ago, so now we got a problem.
Orange County treats all the ponds,
Yeah,
checking for larvae, and
I don't have a pond, I have a swamp.
I'm
We used,
sure you got a giant swamp.
we used to do work for mosquito control, and they'd have some of their stuff, and they always needed modified, and every time I'd work for them, they'd pay for the job, and they're like, where do you live? And they'd hit me with the airplanes. The airplanes or the helicopters, they'd hit that with the extra spray. I was like, we'll get you a little extra spray. Bring it on, man. Keep bringing the work. Keep bringing the extra mosquito spray. That is a weird thing. Those mosquito sprayers, even the trucks, they don't put out near the fog than they used to, do they?
Yeah, we have the
Yeah. You think they do, Mickey? Really? That stuff used to. It used to permeate. I mean, it would just. He'd go in the backyards and through the house and.
Or buys you bicycle. Well, you just send the obnoxious neighbor that's out behind the shop. Yeah, go catch that thing, will you?
You knew you had to beat the mosquito truck home. That's mom was going to beat you if you didn't beat it home. So. I don't know. That's just a Florida thing, I guess. Could have turned this thing on for it to work. All right. Good morning. We're going to continue our study on Isaiah. If you're watching online and I'm not in the square talking, that's how we're going to roll this morning. We don't have anybody at the AV table, so there also won't be any shotgun mics. I'll try to repeat answers, summarize answers. If I get them wrong, I'll be corrected, and we'll move on. So, anyways, we're going to do Isaiah. My references, I use the Blue Letter Bible a little bit, the Bible Gateway, Kaufman's commentary, Barnes' commentary, and the outline commentary by Bob Winton on the Gospel Broadcast Network on their website. I'll explain any controversy I see today. Not expected, huh? Yeah, right. So anyways, we're going to pick up in Isaiah 41 where we're at today. Chuck finished off 40. Isaiah 39, there's a prophecy that Judah will be exiled to Babylonian captivity. And since we know the end of the story, we know that happens. Isaiah 40, he starts shifting the tone to hope and comfort to eventually they're going to come back. And we know that's the truth. They're going to go into Babylonian captivity for 70 years, and then a remnant will come back. And that's what you see in those two chapters summarized somewhat. And it kind of gives us a setting for 41. And he really continues with the hope and the comfort and that return. So Isaiah 41:1, listen to me in silence, O coastlands. Let the people renew their strength. Let them approach. Let them speak. Let us together draw near for judgment. The New Bible Commentary says, here the call for silence opens the imaginary proceedings of a court, where God will face the heathen world with a test question. The call to renew their strength may be a warning that the encounter will be formidable. So what you have is a setting that's a courtroom. God's at the beginning, at the front of it. And he invites all the heathen nations, all the idolaters, bring your false gods, is basically what it says. Come, speak. We're going to find a judgment. It's really going to be me or them. Like it says, O coastlands. Some versions will say islands, and that's just places far away from Israel or Judah, as the case may be. Does that sound like it offers hope or comfort? A setting like this? It should, from the fact that he's bringing in the idolaters to bring their idols. And if you are one of God's people, you should know that isn't going to work out too well. Chuck had a section last week when he talked about that almost really came right out of Job 38, the type question of who did this? And it's like the answer is God did. So the same kind of thing is going to happen here. Bring your idols. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to see who comes out right, who comes out on top, and it's God. And that should offer hope and comfort to God's people as they're in a land, the Babylonian land, a place where they don't speak the language. The worship that goes on, those differences, it should offer them hope that all that is not God, and he is still God. Chuck? Yeah. Yeah. No. And that's exactly it. It's the God is who's going to send a Redeemer, and it's going to be Cyrus. And you're right, that's really the end of the chapter. It's going to be Cyrus. A guy that's not known for being on God's side, a guy that's not known for being nice. Yeah. They're just cruel. I think they just progressively get crueler with every captivity, every person, every group that came in. But that's really where it's going to go, is God's the one that's in control. And that's even the next couple of verses ask that same question. Who stirred up one from the east whom victory meets at every step? He gives up nations before him so that he tramples kings underfoot. He makes them like dust with his sword, like driven stubble with his bow. He pursues them and passes on safely. By paths his feet have not trod. So God has assembled the heathen world. What question does he ask? Right there at the top of that. What question does he ask them? Yeah. It's really, and we're going to get into the controversy right there too. But who do you think sent these? Who do you think, like you said, Cyrus, Darius, even the Assyrians, the Babylonians, who do you think sent these people? I did. Verse 5 says, I think it's 4, says, I did. So God's the one that did it. That's the question. He's assembled all these people. You got your idols. Who did all this? God did. It's just an army, another army, yeah. He is the God of armies. As a matter of fact, one of the songs I heard this morning referred to God as the God of angel armies is what he called him. But yeah, same kind of thing. So who do you think the man from the east is? Chuck already issued his one choice, Cyrus. Anybody else got another one? Any controversial choices? 3 wise men? Mao Zedong? Nothing? Nothing? All right. Here's where we'll go. There's a map. You would think maps would be something easy to find on the internet. There's a million things on there, and the maps you can find, some of those are the most worthless things. There's not enough contrast. You can't find a good straight line. They got old stuff on top of new stuff. Anyways, this is a map we have. This is what we got. So you see Jerusalem, that's right there on the eastern shore of the Mediterranean. That's Israel, Judah, whatever. So the Babylonian Empire is in brown. This is Neo-Babylonia. The Media Empire and Persia, Media and Persia are in orange and another kind of orange, or peach and another kind of peach. I don't know what colors those are. Anybody got a good name for those colors? Peach and another color of peach. There we go. So anyways, they combine. The Medes and the Persians will combine. Is it the Medes conquer the Persians? Is that what it is? The Medes and the Persians. Do the Medes conquer the Persians? No. Yeah. Okay. So Persia becomes, Daniel talks about the 2 horns. Persia becomes the big horn. Media becomes the little horn. And they move in and take over in Babylon. You see that in Daniel too. So this is, what direction is Media? Darius the Mede, Cyrus the Great. Which direction would they come from to get into Babylon? From the east. Yep. Huh. They split, yeah. Darius takes Nineveh and Cyrus takes Babylon. That is kind of strange, isn't it? Most commentators believe that the man from the east is Cyrus, like almost to a fault. They all believe that it's Cyrus. What do you see in these verses that supports that it's Cyrus as the deliverer from the east? It just, the trampling of nations underfoot, the trampling of kings, like you said, they're ruthless. Makes them into dust with his sword. That kind of stuff sounds like Cyrus. It sounds like the Medo-Persian Empire. However, whatever. That looks like that kind of thing. Yeah. No, he punished every.
All of them and their families were.
Yeah, yeah. The whole line in thing is cruel. And like I say, when it worked out against the plan, he took it out on his own people. That furnace with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I know that's really more Babylonian, but hot enough that the workers died. You know, it's crazy stuff. What hope and comfort would this give God's people? We're not usually comforted by somebody who tramples kings underfoot, turns things into dust. What kind of comfort would they get? That's it. Our God is more powerful than anything else in this world. And they know all the stories in the Old Testament. They know how powerful he is. From Genesis on up, they know that. And it should give them comfort, even in 70 years of captivity. You know, I'm not 70 years. I'm not 70 years old yet. I couldn't imagine that every day I've lived would be in captivity. You know, with me still having 12 more years to go before freedom comes, at that point. 70 years is a tremendous amount of time. You know, the old, yeah, I know. But the oldest person we have here, I know Wanda would have been a teenager if you take it to 70 years away, you know? Yeah, how much would you remember from that point? How much would you remember from God's promise? And so, it carries through, but it's a lot of years just be waiting on a promise. But we still wait on promises, and we know this is just one more evidence that God will fulfill promises. Kaufman believes the man from the east is actually Abraham. There's the controversy right here. You didn't look at it for Abraham, didn't you? And I've looked at it, and I spent half my study time on this right here, and I wasn't really convinced, but I'm kind of convinced now. So the end has to be Cyrus. Yeah. The end has to be Cyrus. The beginning can be Abraham, and I think I'll show you why it could be Abraham, and actually makes a little sense. And one of the things Kaufman says is the fact that there was basically three redeemers of Israel, and it would be Abraham, Cyrus, and Christ, but you would put them in that kind of an order. So that's one of his things. And that's not the best evidence, but the Jewish writers and early Christian expositors believe this was Abraham. This is the guy from the east. So the question, did God raise up Abraham from the east? And here's the map. He comes from Ur. And I like this question of, did God raise up Abraham from the east? When we talked about Melchizedek on Wednesday night a few weeks ago, he seems to just appear. But if you use the word raised up, Melchizedek would have been raised up by God to introduce worship. Same as he raised up Abraham to establish a nation there to establish God's people. Abraham did. He had that battle of the kings in Genesis 14. He did that. God did that for him. Not like Cyrus, but he did put a whooping on 4 nations. I think it's 4 nations. 5. So Abraham put a whooping on them. So those both apply. Are they at the same level as Cyrus? No, not necessarily. But he did those. How well do God's people know the history of Abraham? They know Abraham. They know his story. And they know the history. I don't like to say story because they know his history. And they know what he's did and what God did with Abraham. And that could give them hope. I will say God will not raise Abraham from the dead to deliver his people from captivity. Don't look at it as that way, that Abraham would be raised to bring them out of captivity. At the same time, it doesn't really say in this part that he's going to. But the fact that God has done before and he will do again, he will make things happen. So that could give them hope. In verse 4, it finishes off with, who has performed and done this, calling the generations from the beginning, which again looks towards Abraham. I, the Lord, the first, and with the last, I am He. And here's the worst question I possibly could have typed up because it's obviously got a huge title. Who would raise up Cyrus, Abraham from the east? Maybe I had a slash on there. Only God. Whichever one you want to look at. And I can see a little bit of both, and I got no problem sometimes of saying it alludes to both. So, what promises did God give Abraham? That's one thing. It's like with the calling from generations from the beginning, look at the word Abraham. But what were the promises God gave Abraham once he got to, I guess really once he got to the promised land, which he didn't hold on to, but what promises were given to Abraham? Some people say 3, some people say 7. 7. Some of that is, I will bless you and I will curse anybody who curses you. Those are 7. But typically people look at 3. So what are the 3 promises? Land. The generations will come after him because he didn't have any kids. And what? Christ. Yeah, Christ. So those are the 3 promises we typically give Abraham. Cyrus doesn't have promises like that, but Abraham does. And again, Abraham ain't going to come to save them. But Genesis 12, 1 through 3, the Lord said to Abraham, go from your country, your kindred, and your father's house to the land I'll show you. I'll make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So the people they could get a lot of hope from this. This one verse in particular doesn't support Cyrus. So, like I said, does it matter? I don't think it does. But this one verse in particular does not really, calling the generations from the beginning part doesn't really support that. Cyrus is definitely in the end. So, comfort and hope. God's got a plan, and God takes care of his people. So, verse 5, the coastlands have seen and are afraid. The ends of the earth tremble. They are drawn near and come. So, God is basically, he's called them, bring your idols, we're going to have a trial. And he says, basically, this is what he presents. And if you look at it, Cyrus is going to come, and they're going to tremble. If you look at it, the fact that God has done this kind of thing before, he's brought in a redeemer, he's set up his own nation, he's taken care of everything, and he'll do it again. What does it do to the heathens? What does it do to the idolaters? How do they react? The people who don't know God, now all of a sudden they see God as God. So they tremble. They're afraid. What's that? Yeah. Yeah, and it, yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah, with the letter like that, when they got back to, when they go after captivity, they don't. The nations don't help. No, one brick in one hand and a sword in the other. They'll work against you, and they are not happy. They don't work with God. They do only when God's in control. That's the only time they do that. Or they bow a knee, one or the other. Picking up in verse 6, everyone helps his neighbor and says to his brother, be strong. The craftsman strengthens the goldsmith. He who smooths with the hammer, him who strikes the anvil, saying of the soldering, it is good. And they strengthen it with nails so that it cannot be moved. So the heathen nations tremble. They're afraid. And they're afraid of God being God. So what do they do in verse 6 and 7? What's their response? What do they do and why aren't they doing it? But yeah, part of it is, let's make better looking idols. If these aren't working, let's make better looking items. You're right, it smooths it with the hammer, strikes the anvil. Let's make it even better. Let's solder some of this stuff together. Yeah, it's good. If God's coming to tear down what we got, let's nail it down. He can't possibly rip down nails. Let's make sure it doesn't blow away or get knocked over. Nail it together, nail it down, and they strengthen one another. Be strong. Be strong. It's good. It's good. This is what it's going to be. silversmiths, yeah, with the temple in Ephesus. Yeah. Same response then in Ephesus, same response here. They keep working and make it better. Yeah, there's a whole lot depends on that. And I'm sure if that's what you're holding on, a whole lot depends. But, they see the strength of God and they see how his plans work and how he makes it work. They are not giving up on whatever it is they're doing. That's worked so far. Yeah, no. Verse 8, but you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the offspring of Abraham, my friend, you whom I took from the ends of the earth and called from the farthest concerns, saying to you, you are my servant. I have chosen you and have not cast you off. What does God use to assure his people that he's faithful? History, really. He talks about the offspring of Abraham, Abraham being his friend. And, like that. He takes Abraham out of an idol-worshiping past. Took him from the ends of the earth. It was quite a trip for a guy that says, you go where I tell you. That's basically what he told Abraham. Go where I tell you. You're my servant, and I have chosen you and not cast you off. You'd think that over time, God, if God wasn't God, he'd get tired of Israel so far. I mean, he punishes them severely, but he never dumps them. You got that promise of Abraham? So he never dumps them. He's always there. He's chosen them. He hadn't cast them off, and that's the assurance he gives his people. Verse 10, fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. So he tells people you got 70 years of captivity, but don't be dismayed. I will be there to strengthen you. I will be there to uphold you with my right hand. I will be a part of that 70 years. I'm not just going to turn my back. He seemed to have turned his back when they did the Egyptian slavery, because it says, and then he remembered. He seemed to turn his back on that stuff and brought it back. But here he says, no, I'm not doing that here. I'll be with you. No, family didn't come in as slaves. Yeah. Somehow, they do. They become slaves and they stay slaves, and a lot of slaves. So that's the big fear. They'll take over. There's so many of them. But they prosper. That was the key to that too. So does this apply to us today? In our deepest captivity, our deepest trials, will God still strengthen us? Will he still uphold us with his own hand? Yeah. Clive and Chuck and Paul are all song leaders, and they say it from up there with a lot of these songs. It talks about God's hands strengthening us. So yeah, it applies today, just the same as it did then. Revelation 2:10 ties in with this. Do not fear what you're about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, that you may be tested for 10 days. You will have tribulation. Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life. So even like this captivity, not everybody's coming out of captivity. Only a few are. I mean, just the time is too much for most people. But he'll remember them, and that's what it is for us. We have be faithful unto death, and we have a crown of life. So be faithful through all that. Verse 11 and 12, behold, all who are incensed against you shall be put to shame and confounded. Those who strive against you shall be as nothing and shall perish. You shall seek those who contend with you, but you shall not find them. Those who war against you shall be as nothing at all. Who has contended with God's people? Who has been incensed? Who's been mad at God's people and attacked them in the past? Anybody and everybody, pretty much, right? It's just there's a long list. It's just anybody and everybody has. And God he's kept, the people he's talking to, he's kept them safe. He might not the rest of the country, but he's kept them safe through all that stuff. Were they successful in destroying God's people? And they weren't. They were successful in destroying some of God's people, but not God's people fully. That's still there. God weakened them, and that's kind of really the key. He weakens them. You saw that with Syria right there at the door of Jerusalem. No, turn around. He weakens them to the point that they don't finish the job. He'll weaken Babylon too. They'll be strong enough through 70 years, but they weaken enough that the Mede-Persians basically walk in, So they'll be weaker when the time comes. And the Mede-Persians will be weaker when that time comes. When it takes time to fulfill God's purpose. Like I say, Cyrus is ruthless, and he all of a sudden has a soft enough heart to send them home. So God will weaken those. You shall seek those who contend with you, but you shall not find them. That's right there in verse 12. It may apply to the Chaldeans who conquered and destroyed Jerusalem 606 and 586 BC. The release from Babylonian captivity doesn't happen for another 50 years. I know Matt tried to study Chaldeans one time, and they just kind of disappear. And I think that's kind of where you see that line of you can seek them, but you're not going to find them. They're just, I don't know. I saw that, and it's like, it is what it is. That's a tricky line, but it's there. It all comes. Yeah, they get more. It comes to nothing else. The plans against Israel, God's people. I never know exactly what to call them at some points, but they. The remnant, yes, at this point it'll be a remnant. The plans against them just don't. They, like Chuck said, they come to nothing at all. And as we know, eventually the earthly Israel becomes the spiritual Israel. And that's just, again, that just goes away. It's all just nothing at all. It's almost bounces off of us. Verse 13 and 14, for I, the Lord your God, hold your right hand. It is I who say to you, fear not. I am the one who helps you. Fear not, you worm Jacob, you men of Israel. I am the one who helps you, declares the Lord. Your Redeemer is the Holy One of Israel. Why does God call Jacob a worm and not the other way around? Why does God call Jacob a worm? And the New Bible Commentary says that men should perhaps be rendered lice in the same passage, which is kind of weird. So fear not, you worm Jacob, and you lice of Israel. Why? Why worm? Why lice? There's no defense on a worm. No. If Jacob was a worm, God had to do everything with him. Had to do everything for him. There's nothing a worm could do. Lice are about the same way. Nuisances that they are. How many people die from lice? Chad dad. Sorry. Yeah, worms are cool that way, aren't they? And you cut them up and they multiply. Maybe that's a good analogy there too with Israel. You can cut them up and make them a remnant, but you're still going to have. If you only take one section of worm Jacob, you'd still generate a full nation from it. I like that. That's a good point. The commentaries miss out on the good stuff because I don't think the theologians don't typically play in the dirt. They've never gone fishing, so I don't know. That's a different breed right there. Preachers, theologians, it's different. So, fear not, who was, is, and will be the Redeemer of Israel. Easy questions today. It's God, right? All the time. He is. He was, he is, and will be the Redeemer of Israel. In whatever form that comes, it's always God. Behold, I will make you a threshing sledge, new, sharp, and having teeth. I will thresh the mountains and crush them, and you shall make the hills like chaff. You shall winnow them, and the wind shall carry them away, and the tempest shall scatter them. You shall rejoice in the Lord, and the Holy One of Israel you shall glory. The enemies of God's people, basically, when the Redeemer comes, basically, Israel becomes a hammer. God's people become a hammer. They destroy what's against God's plan. And again, comes to nothing. Verse 17, when the poor and needy seek water, and there is none, and their tongue is parched with thirst, I, the Lord, will answer them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. I will open rivers on the bare heights and the fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water and the dry land springs of water. So what element do we see here? Multiple ways. What do you think it represents? What do we see here a lot? It's water, definitely. Without water, you can't survive without water. Spiritual refreshment is kind of another thing that God, you'll never thirst again is what it is. The spiritual part from God. You'll never thirst again. Verse 19 through 20, I will put in the wilderness a cedar, the acacia, the myrtle, and the olive. I will set in the desert the cypress, the plane and the pine together, that they may see and know, may consider and understand together that the hand of the Lord has done this. The Holy One of Israel has created it. So what do you see multiple of here? You see trees. What do you think the trees represent? It's usually its roots or stability, but there's comfort. If you live in a desert area, the shade and stuff, and then, of course they can get fruit and stuff from them too. In the desert is a cypress. We planted cypress trees in our yard because it gets wet like a swamp. So we put cypress trees to suck up thousands of gallons of water, and it seems to work. Put a cypress tree in the desert, it's going to take God's water to make that grow. Verse 21, set forth your case, says the Lord. Bring your proof, says the king of Jacob. Let them bring them and tell us what is to happen. Tell us the former things, what they are, that we may consider them, that we may know their outcome, or declare to us the things to come. Tell us what it is to come hereafter, that we may know that you are gods. Do good or do harm, that we may be dismayed and terrified. So it's back to the courtroom setting. And God says, I've shown my case. I've shown what I've done. Bring your idols. Bring your proof. Bring your evidence. Show us what your gods can do. Show us what they have done. And show us what they will do. So it's the same kind of thing. He's really saying, bring them. Let's see how it works. What do you expect? How well do you think that'll work? It really just don't. But we all know. Yeah, Elijah with the... Yeah, Elijah, and I'll challenge you. Pour more water on the fire. Maybe your God is sleeping. That's there's some super sarcasm in that right there. That's the same thing. Just bring them. I'll kick back here. You guys demonstrate. Put on a little idol type science fair, and we'll see what happens here. Verse 24. Behold, you're nothing. Your work is less than nothing. An abomination is he who chooses you. Didn't work out too good. The idols don't perform well. They don't have a future. They don't have a past. There's no lore. There's no stories. There's no history. There's no delivery. No, they don't deliver them from anything. They're just, let's try this for a while. Let's make it shinier. It just doesn't work. And the world today still has their own idols, and they will still tell you that it really just doesn't work out. More money, more addiction, whatever. 25, 26, I stirred up one from the north, and he has come from the rising of the sun. He shall call upon my name. He shall trample on rulers as on mortar, as a potter treads clay. He who declared it from the beginning, that he might know, and beforehand he might say he is right. There was none who declared it, none who proclaimed, none who heard your words. So after God denounces idolaters, the idols, he presents a plan, and he's going to bring in a powerful man. So he's going to bring it from the north, and that's I guess that's really the way that Cyrus came into Babylon. He came from the north. These last couple of verses are clearly Cyrus, regardless of whatever else was in there. These are clearly Cyrus. It is clearly God's plan to bring this deliverer in. This is long before Cyrus' birth. Cyrus is named in Isaiah 44, so in 3 more chapters, he's named long before he's born, and he's going to play an important role in the eternal function of God. Verse 27, I was the first to say to Zion, behold, here they are, and give to Jerusalem a herald of good news. And when I look, there is no one. Among those there is no counselor, who, when I ask, gives an answer. Behold, they are all a delusion. Their works are nothing. Their metal images are empty wind. So anyways, this is a testament against idols. It's a testament against idol worship. It's a testament of God has done it before and before and before and he will do it again. The promises they held on to for 70 years of coming out of captivity, he takes care of that by sending a Redeemer. He has sent us a Redeemer. That Redeemer is Jesus Christ. The promises we have held on to for 2,000 years, rest assured, he'll keep those promises too. So, and I think that's really what we need to take from that. And as the story goes, like I said, he takes care of a remnant of Israel, brings them back. That's enough to bring Christ, and that's really the key to it. So, thanks for joining me and us. And Chuck picks up in 42 next week. So I think there's 3 or 4 chapters of this encouragement for the people, isn't it? I think. Yeah, yeah. It reminds them all of what idols couldn't do. The diviners, the soothsayers, the magicians, what they couldn't do, God does repeatedly. And I like what you said earlier too, is God provides a redeemer. He provides deliverance, and the idols never provide deliverance. So, all right. Well, thank you all.